If you like this video, please rate, comment, share and subscribe. If you dislike it, please tell me why so I can improve. Graham, thanks for your response. I'm going to talk to you at the end of the video. In the meantime, I have something else to say. I have always, I suppose, prided myself on being against homophobia and in favour of homosexuality, even to the extent that at points I considered homosexuality to be the only acceptable form of sexual orientation, whether or not it's a choice, in fact. So that's connected to the radical effeminacy of the radical feminist movement, which recommends that men should only have relationships with other men, because all relationships between men and women are inherently oppressive towards the women. I don't think that anymore, but of course I'm heterosexual in the sense that insofar as I have sexual desires for other people, they are sexual desires for people whose gender is different than my own, usually. So I'm sort of heterosexual. And this real zeal and fervour that I feel of being against homophobia is probably actually based on my own heterosexuality. I think you all know by now that I'm gender dysphoric, and I want to talk about my attitude towards that as it has been historically, because I'm in a bit of a state of flux with that at the moment, which was basically very strongly influenced by that book, The Transsexual Empire and Radical Feminism again, in that I felt that in order to want to be a member of a different gender, firstly, it was impossible because of your history as a member of one particular gender, and secondly, that it's symbolically a way of invading, in my case, female space and pretending to be female and oppressing women in that way. And it's not very clear where you can go with that, because if all men are rapists, then that's all we are, and I have believed that for a very long time. If you can't escape your gender because you are a rapist essentially, and that's all you are, then the only option to me seems to be suicide. But I embrace that, and I think that that's okay, and that shows the extent to which I feel very against the idea of so-called transsexualism, or have done historically. And the way I feel about that is, I suppose, in a more healthy attitude towards myself and a more perhaps self-affirming attitude, it would be a case of wanting to be integrated with my body, feeling that the problem was that I'm not integrated with my body, hate having a male body, I'm disgusted, revolted by everything gender related about my body that reminds me of my male gender, which is inescapable, and therefore have been very against the idea of gender reassignment, because as far as I'm concerned, that's impossible. That's just a way of invading women's space, and it's not okay. But I realise now that that's actually me imposing my values on other people, and my very strong feeling that I should be against, at the time, in the past, against gender reassignment, is actually about my self-hatred as a man. And that arises from who I am, which is a gender dysphoric male, essential male, no way of escaping that. So let's just change one variable and say, suppose instead of being gender dysphoric, I had been gay. Suppose I'd done that. If I'd done that, I'm just wondering, would I actually be homophobic myself? Would I actually, the self-hatred that I feel, applied to myself and my sexuality, because I'm not keen on being heterosexual, I just am, vaguely, slightly. If I'd actually been inside that sexuality, I think, given my reaction towards transgender issues, that I would actually be homophobic. I'd actually think that what I was doing was wrong, and I'd probably go and project that on other people and think that homosexuality was sinful, basically, because I am religious. I mean, this may not be clear, but I am. And so, sort of give me food for thought there. Okay, Graham, now I'm going to talk to you personally. I have approved your video, but I'm afraid to watch it. I'm honestly afraid to. I'm sorry. I will try and pluck up the courage to watch it at some point, but I'm really finding it hard. I know I'm sure you didn't intend that reaction, but that's how I feel. That's my baggage, I'm afraid. So at some point I will watch it, but I haven't watched it yet, but I've approved it, so that's something, isn't it? Just on the question of gynecomastia, I've made another video, because yeah, it's possible there wasn't any gynecomastia there. I wasn't saying there was, but here is a video made last night of what I actually do think is gynecomastia, and I have done a lot of physical examinations on people, and I think I would recognise gynecomastia on the whole. I think maybe it's very difficult because you can see it in yourself maybe before you see it in other people, and you're aware of what your chest looks like, and then it changes, and you're aware of it perhaps before other people. It's a minimal involvement, I think. But I can see your point, and I do have a problem not being highly subjective about this. So I will get to watch your video once I pluck up the courage to watch it, but I'm a bit scared, basically. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of stuff going on in my head at the moment. There's a lot of things that I can't say on this channel or in public at all about what's going on. There's no threat to me or anything like that. It's just that there's a lot of entanglement with other people and so on, and that's got to get resolved. So thanks for making the response. Look at the video I've linked to, please, and I will look at yours, because I reckon that by now, even if it wasn't there before, there is definitely gynecomastia there now, and I'd just like to know your opinion on that. If there isn't, then there isn't. Okay, that's fine, but I'm pretty sure that there's something going on down there, and so you should probably have a look at what stage I've reached. So anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.